Hello, I'm Gavin Horgan, Headmaster of Millfield School in Somerset, the largest co-educational boarding school in the UK. Welcome to the Millfield Way Podcast. Here, you'll hear from teachers, coaches and students from Millfield and Millfield Prep School. Millfield is traditionally different, and this is the Millfield Way.
Hello and welcome to the latest edition of the Millfield Way Podcast. I'm joined this morning by Amy Newman, our Deputy Head Academic here at Prep. Thank you very much, Amy, for being on the podcast today.
Good morning.
So to begin with, could you just share a bit about your role and what it actually involves?
Yeah, so my role entails overseeing the academic provision for the whole of the prep school. And I came into this role in September, having previously been head of juniors, so overseeing the curriculum in years 3 to 6. And so really what I've been trying to do this year is understand what that curriculum looks like for the whole school, making links with the senior school, and then looking at ways that we can ensure the children are getting the best academic provision and a smooth pathway on to year 9.
Amazing. Must be lots of different things that entails.
Yeah.
How did you initially kind of get drawn to prep? Like, what's your background there?
So this is, I think, my 21st year of teaching. So initially I was at a boys' day school in Buckinghamshire in Amersham, and that was a prep school as well, up to 13. Very different setting to here, right in the middle of all the grammar schools. So children from a very young age doing sort of tutoring for 11 plus and then going on to common entrance. And then my partner and I decided to relocate back down to Somerset, which is where my partner's originally from. And I love my sport. So I was doing lots of boys' sport at the prep school. And when the job for Millfield came up as a year 5 teacher, I absolutely jumped at it. So then fast forward a few years, I've been here now this is the end of my 13th year. So I started in year 5, then did some work in year 6 whilst being deputy head of juniors, then became head of juniors, and last year became deputy head academic. And I think what attracts me to the whole prep system, why I didn't start looking for jobs in the state sector rather than coming into the prep, was just the opportunity to do so much. So, you know, they can do sport every single day if they want to. We're not restricted by sort of weather or things like that. And there's just so much opportunity.
Yeah, there are really endless things that they can get involved with. How do you think that kind of starting in juniors and coming up to this now has given you a unique perspective on things?
Yeah, I think it's great to see, because I've obviously had links with pre-prep as well. I'm used to seeing the whole journey of the child, and perhaps I understood what happened in year 7 and 8 because I was preparing year 6 for year 7. And this year I've really sort of got stuck into really understanding what goes on in year 7 and 8. I've been teaching English in year 7 and 8, so that's given me a really good perspective. And I think, you know, it now means that I'm hoping this, with me being in post, I've got experience across the whole journey of prep.
Yeah, amazing. Are there any other subjects that you teach here at the moment?
So at the moment I do year 6 rugby. So that's been for a few years now with the other deputy head, Ben Hilton. So that's really nice. We take the boys in the autumn term. Next year I'll be doing more English, just with predominantly year 8 next year. And then prior to that, I was teaching maths, science, humanities to year 6. So anything in key stage 2, really. But I love my English. I did English A-level and absolutely loved it.
So obviously we're quite known for being a sports school and our sports offering. Would you be happy to talk in a bit more detail about what the academics are like here?
Yeah, sure. So coming here was so different to my previous setting. I think it was just nice to come somewhere where children could be children again and have the freedom to, you know, have high expectations for academics, but equally understand they're still children and they need to go and run around and play and do other things as well. And I think what we try to do here is make the curriculum as engaging for the pupils as possible. So we're trying to make the curriculum fun. We want them to ask questions. We want them to be inspired, to be curious, you know, and we're happy to have challenging questions and take feedback. And I think it's a two-way thing. It's not just us dictating to the children. It's got to be a two-way conversation to engage them in their learning. And I think the nice thing about here is that we have the balance that even if the academics aren't for you, you do a little bit of academics, then you go and have a run around, then you come back in, you do a bit more academics, and every day there's something for them to look forward to. So even if, you know, sitting in a maths class is not your thing, next lesson you might be going to do music or you might be going off to do art. And I think that's what we're trying to achieve here, is to have the real breadth of opportunity within the academic setting as well. So when I was in juniors, we moved to an inquiry-based curriculum. So it's called the International Primary Curriculum. And the idea behind that is the children are learning skills that they will need in life, not just academic skills and subject skills, but also, how am I going to do a presentation to people? How am I going to collaborate? And when I started in the deputy head academic role, or just before I came into it, the joy of being here before I even started was that I could start making plans for year 7 and 8. And what we've done is move them on to a curriculum called the Pre-Senior Baccalaureate, the PSB, and that follows on nicely from the IPC, because we're going to be teaching the subject skills, but also have 6 core skills that the children will have. And the idea behind this curriculum is that we're still doing the Brilliance curriculum up into year 9. So we're still linking with the senior school, but ultimately our goal at the moment is preparing children for jobs that probably don't even exist yet. So they need to have the skills to be able to do those jobs. So we're really focusing and digging down on collaboration, communication, leadership, thinking and improving, reviewing work. And if we can have those skills, then the subject skills will come alongside it, and they'll be prepared for whatever there is to come.
Yeah, amazing. And you mentioned briefly the Brilliance curriculum as well. Would you be happy to just, for those who haven't heard of it, just share a bit more about that?
Sure. So we obviously in year 7 and 8 is 2 years of Key Stage 3, and then your 3rd year is in year 9, which is up at the senior school. So what we want to make sure is that, the benefit to coming to Millfield Prep and then going on through to the senior school is that we have a clear academic pathway that starts at the beginning of year 7, you get to the end of year 9, and then you start your Key Stage 4 GCSEs. And if the children were to go to another school, they might find they're repeating topics or things like that. But our heads of department here have really close links with the heads of subjects at the senior school. And so each subject has a clear pathway, a clear map of showing what the children are going to study in year 7 and what it looks like when they get to the end of year 9. So there's no repetition, and we're just building year on year on prior knowledge and what they've already been doing.
Okay, that sounds like a very seamless transition. Yeah. So with these kind of things, how do you track progress from an academic perspective?
So we've got lots of ways that we track progress. So formative and summative assessment. So we're moving very much towards more modular testing. GCSEs are outdated, and I think you'll find that a lot of people that you speak to, whether it's here, senior school, various other schools, that is how teachers feel. They're outdated and they don't suit the children of this world today. Some children can, really sort of hammer down and learn things and regurgitate, but actually are those the skills that you need when you go into the working life? Probably not, unless you're going to be an academic. So what we like to do here is we have different ways. So we'll have an open book test. So the children will have a sheet that they've done themselves to support, remember, different methods in maths or maybe formulas in science, just to see that they can actually use the formulas, because that's the first step. Can they actually use them properly? Then the next test, we might say, right, we're going to remove that scaffolding. Let's see the progress that you can make now. So I think it's all about making sure that the information we're giving the children is embedded, but also that they can use skills to apply that information. It's not just go and remember all these facts and then we're going to test you on them.
That sounds really good, because it is a bit of a memory game, GCSEs. So that sounds like a really positive change that's coming. In terms of class sizes and kind of more tailored support for pupils, do you think that that's something which Prep does quite well, and how so?
Yeah, so I think we're moving to mixed ability groups in year 7 and 8 from September. The bonus of that is that what we're no longer doing is putting a ceiling on the learning for the children. So we'll teach to the high attainers, but we'll scaffold for those children that need the support. And those that need the extra support, we then have the PCC, where they can go along there and get extra study skill support for specific learning needs like dyslexia, and they will come into the classroom as well and support the child. Similarly with the English as an additional language, children coming over that don't know very much English, they'll go and have their EAL lessons, but equally we want to try and get them into science, the practical subjects, so that they're starting to learn the language, because it's very different to just learning English and learning all the technical terms, but we'll send someone from EAL to support in there as well. So the children are supported. We have classes of between 16 and 18. We're very lucky. We stream for maths, and there'll be an element of streaming in some other subjects. But, our philosophy is that all the children have great ideas to share. And I think saying to a child at age 11, right, you're going into this band, you're going into this band, it's just too early, because they're still doing a great deal of development up until the age of 14.
Yeah, amazing. So the PCC, Personalised Curriculum Centre, and the EAL work quite closely then with everybody, really. Yeah, so it's great that everyone can be quite interlinked, I suppose.
And we have each pupil that has a learning need or needs extra support, has a pupil passport. Every teacher has access to that. That has the pupil voice on it as well. So it will say, these are the things I find really hard. If you sit me at the front of the classroom, actually, I really can't stand that. Please put me somewhere else. I don't want everyone looking at me. As simple as that. Or please, can you make sure when you use the whiteboard, it's not bright white. It's got sort of a hue on it so that it's not so sort of bright for the children. So we all get that feedback. And then we'll have professional feedback as well. So if they've had an EP assessment, and anything that PCC have done and said, this makes it easy for them, blow the text up, make it bigger, that makes it easier for them. They need to do their work on an iPad and type because actually they find handwriting really tricky, or they need to dictate. So, we're very flexible, and it's so normal now within the school that if you say to a child, go and dictate, the rest of the class don't look and go, well, that's odd, that they're just really used to it.
It's amazing that it can be so tailored for each child. It's quite rare to be able to give each child that specific attention in a classroom setting. In terms of scholarships, that's also something which obviously people have a lot of interest in. What is the kind of scholarship procedure like here?
Yeah, so coming into year 6 and 7 to do an academic scholarship, we do some testing online. Then we do some cognitive ability testing, which looks at your sort of verbal, non-verbal reasoning, some spatial awareness, and some quantitative reasoning. So we're looking at predominantly maths and language, and a little bit of sort of innate ability, really, to see what potential the child has. And then we'll get the children in for the day, and they will assess a creative writing paper while they're here, and come for an interview with myself or the headmaster. And the sorts of questions we're asking really are, what do they think about current affairs? What do they think about the world we're in now? We're not going to ask questions that have very simple answers. One of my favourites, which we don't ask anymore, but was, why do penguins' feet not freeze?
Wow.
And it's just to see if they can think outside the box.
What would you say your answer is to that?
My answer would be, I'd be saying something like they've adapted to the environment that they're in.
Maybe because they put the eggs on there.
Yeah,
so that keeps them warm.
Yeah. So what we don't want is a child just sitting and go, I don't know, I've never thought.
Yeah.
We're just seeing if they've got that space to do that. So it's a much more relaxed approach to the academic scholarship the younger they are, because really we're looking if they've got an inquiring mind. Are they going to be independent? Are they going to want to go off and look up things and take their learning further? And then as we go up to year 9, in year 8, we have much more formal academic scholarship assessments. So we run some trial papers in November so that the children get an opportunity to see what's going to be expected. And then we obviously say to the children, you're not going to know all the stuff on these papers, but this is the approach. This is what you're going to have to work towards. Are you up for it? And then ultimately it's down to the parents to decide whether they want to enter them. And then in the February of year 8, the children go up to the senior school, and they'll do 3 days of various assessments. So some of them are written papers, some of them are interviews, some of them are collaborative work, just so that the teachers up there really get to see the whole child. So it's not just all about the papers. You can have a bad day on the paper, but actually come to interview. Wow, amazing.
Yeah, sure. So that the school value of curiosity really seems to come through in that process. Like, you do want someone that is interested and excited to learn, I suppose. So did the scholarships go across all different subjects, and where can people find out more information about that?
Yeah, so at the prep school we have scholarships in drama, music, sport, academic, or all-rounder. And when you go up to the senior school, there's a few more options to choose from. And what the best thing to do is just go onto the website and look at the scholarship page on admissions, and have a look at what you can apply for. Every year the deadline is the 1st of December to apply for scholarships. So really you're looking a whole year ahead. So you just want to have a look. There's some great videos on there, the pupils explaining what it's like to have a scholarship, what it entails at senior school, so that the children can actually see what it's all about. And I think if you're an existing parent, give someone a call, speak to your head of year, contact myself and we can talk you through whether we think it's a good thing for your child to do or whether we think it might just be that step too far.
Amazing. And can pupils apply for multiple scholarships?
Yeah, so we've got pupils. Currently, there's a chap in year 7 who's got one in music, drama, sport and academic.
Wow.
He's a very talented boy. And, you know, so there's no restrictions there. But you obviously have this fine balance then of how am I going to fit all these things in, because if you're a drama scholar, you're probably going to have a big role in the play. If you're a music scholar, you're probably going to be doing lots of sort of concerts and things like that. And then there comes the academic and the sport pressure. So I think, you know, it's great to have all of those, and they don't necessarily automatically go on with you to the senior schools. So you will have to start looking again to sort of, with the academic scholarship, for example, we reassess to go to the senior school. So even if you hold one now, we'd expect you to take one again ready for year 9.
So lots of opportunities for pupils again when they make the transition up to senior school. Going back to kind of attitudes to learning, obviously we live in a very digital age now. Learning is changing a lot since COVID.
Yeah.
How does the relationship between technology and learning work here?
So the children all have iPads in years 6, 7 and 8. Those are managed devices that the school basically has ultimate control over. So the parents buy the iPad, or they can rent the iPad through a company that we're linked with. And then we have ultimate control over what the children can see when we use them in class. So it's not an automatic that the children come into class, get their iPad out and expect to be on there the whole time. We're really still pushing writing in books, handwriting. So it might be, for example, that in maths, instead of having a textbook, because we might have done 20 years ago, all the questions are on the iPad, but they're actually doing all the workings and writing it down into their books. And you might go into English and find that you barely use it unless you're someone that needs to use it for longer pieces of writing. Okay. So it varies subject by subject. You know, we're trying to prepare the children for the world that they're going into, that is a very digitally led world. And with that comes AI and the sort of pros and cons of that. And we're trying to educate them on how best to use that as well. But what we don't want is the children being on there 8 hours a day and losing the ability to write. Or
yeah, totally. It sounds like it's more just an aid than
it is
really central to what you're doing.
So there's so much that we offer that with sports, with academics, extracurricular. For pupils that maybe don't do a lot of sports, how do you make sure that they stay on top of academics, and how is that kind of monitored to support the pupil?
Yeah, good question. So we're very used to having children who are heavily committed at this school. We've got some very talented children. Within the sports department, we have a number of teachers, and they'll be allocated to the heavily committed children. So they might have 3 or 4 children that they're just looking at their program, and making sure that that it's all balanced and they've got time to do everything. You know, we will get to certain times of the year where the pressure is much greater. So just before Easter, we have a lot of tournaments. If we've been successful in the lead up to that, you tend to find that a lot of the final tournament days are just before Easter. So what we'll do is speak to the game staff, and if they go out for a tournament and they've missed a substantial amount of lessons, when they come back in from the tournament, instead of then doing another game session, we use that time to supervise them trying to catch up or go through things that they've missed. So there's real flexibility there. All of the work, the beauty of the iPad is that all of the work is on Shobi at the moment. So that's an app that we have. So if a child misses a lesson for whatever reason, they can see what they've missed out on and go on and catch up, message the teacher, don't quite understand this, and we find time to go through it with them. It's a fine balance that I think, you know, we meet regularly once a week as a pastoral team as well. And that doesn't just look at, you know, the pastoral side, it does look at children and their academic side as well. It's the whole child. So though it's, you know, it's a pastoral meeting, we're looking at the whole child.
Again, it's that really like tailored support that's really coming through there. In terms of your role now, what are the current challenges that you're facing?
I think as much as I love AI, and it's, you know, for me as a teacher, it's great for some of the things that we need to do. I think with it's a challenge for children. The first thing they want to do is when you ask them a question they don't know the answer, can I go on AI? It's almost skipped that, can I Google it, which was the thing it was before.
Can I Google it is kind of AI.
Yeah, it is. It automatically does it. So, and what we're trying to explain to the children is, you know, that's a great starting point, but then you need to build on it. You can't just copy out what you find on the internet.
Yeah.
And I think the challenge for us is in this world is making sure that the children understand there is fake news. and that not everything you read is factually correct. And that's why, be a challenger is such an important ethos of the school and value, because the children shouldn't take everything they see at face value. And we start that from a very early age, from year 3. I'll say any research projects they do, don't just go straight onto Wikipedia. You need to look at 2-3 different websites. So starting from real basics in year 3, so that by the time they leave us in year 8, they have a better understanding that I can't just look on the internet and see a picture and take it at face value.
In terms of, I guess, like with things like ChatGPT and machine learning, is that all kind of blocked, or how does that?
It's not blocked. So they have access to ChatGPT because it does have its uses. It does have value. As I said, it's a good starting place when they want to do some research or they want to get some information about how to answer a question. But we can tell when AI has been used as opposed to their own work. Yeah. So we will always say, use it as a starting point, but it's got to be your own work. And I think we've got to be clever at how we question the children so that they can't just put it into a search engine. And I think that's always been the way, back when I was, plagiarism and everything, you could still cut and paste. And it's
true.
so obvious.
Yeah, bravo.
It's so obvious when a child's cut and pasting. You say, what does that word mean? Oh, I'm not really sure. You cut and pasted it, So we want them to use the technology. We're absolutely not avoiding it. We've got to embrace it because it's there.
Yeah.
But I think the challenge for us at the moment is getting that fine balance
and having that advantage to understand it but not be dependent on it.
Exactly that. Yeah.
So what is something that you've implemented in your time in this role which you're particularly proud of?
I think hopefully the PSD as that card in. So we had a sort of soft start this year. The next year is the big sort of kick off from September with year 7 and 8 doing it. And there'll be a lot more sort of literature about that. There'll be an evening for parents so that they can come and hear what it's about.
Amazing.
And the nice thing about that is that at the end of the year, it culminates when you finish in year 8 in a project-based learning task. And a bit like having a TED talk, the parents will come in and the children will have up their project and they can talk through it to people. It won't just be that they've had to have written something. It could be a presentation, it could be a sculpture, it could be a performance. It's completely within their hands how they want to present their final project. And the project can be on absolutely anything. So it could be, what's the best material to grow oranges in, all the way to why there's so many amazing, great British Formula 1 drivers. It really spans. Find something the child's interested in. We give them a mentor of someone that hopefully has similar interests, and off they go.
Amazing. That sounds really exciting. And something to look forward to coming soon then. So who do you work kind of most closely with in your role, and how does that help to support pupils?
So I work very closely with the rest of SMT and the heads of year. And I think, you sort of have that overview, but also I regularly meet with HODs. I think because I've been in the classroom here as well, it's given me sort of a good advantage to know what's going on and to sort of walk in and not have people sort of go, oh no, the deputy head's in here, because I think that's a real advantage to me. And also still teaching gets me to understand what it's like for the children as well. So I think it's just communication. I think the beauty of this school is it doesn't matter what you do, everyone's on friendly terms and talks to each other. And
it's very integrated.
Yeah,
that's fantastic. So if pupils from Prep could come away with one takeaway from their time here, what's something that you would hope that they would really take away from it?
I just would like to think that they come away saying, I loved learning. I loved being at Prep because I could explore things that I wanted to find out about, and it gave me a real passion for learning about castles or learning French or,
it could honestly be anything. Yes, there's so much on offer there. What excites you most about the future of learning at Prep?
I think I'm excited to see where the PSB goes. It could be something that we move down further into the younger years, and some other prep schools have done that. And I'm really looking forward to see the impact that having mixed ability grouping is going to have on the children next term, because I think it's going to just foster their love of learning even more.
We hope that you enjoyed this episode of the Millfield Way Podcast in conversation with Amy Newman, Deputy Head Academic.